All right, my name is Zeke Torres, and thank you for continuing to watch. This next segment is relating to key basics, things that I want you to be aware of that I want you to either do or never do. And in order to kind of highlight that, it's actually kind of tricky. I need to talk about hidden files and folders and things like that. And I think some colleagues or peers of mine might say, why are you showing them this? I think it's important because I think as techies, we always like to poke around and find things or explore things. This is a big caution not to do that with Git. So I have rules that are recommended and I've listed them in my paper, and I'm constantly making new rules to keep from doing things or for forgetting to do things. This is one main basic rule that I want to highlight and show everybody and then tell you don't do this. So again, in the next few slides or the next segments, we're going to go into actually creating Git repositories. So I need to show you what they look like, and then you never go there and do or touch them or mess with them again. Okay. So this folder is the one that we used in our last segment, and it has nothing to do with Git. We haven't initiated a Git repository in it. So we can't exactly see anything. So I'm using a Windows 10 machine, and I'm going to check and make sure if my options to view hidden files or folders is enabled or disabled. So what I've done here is, let me go back a step. I've gone into the options, to the view settings, and there's a choice for hidden files and folders. There's one for don't show, and there's one for show. I like to leave that enabled on my machine because I work with so many folders and files, and I want to make sure that I'm not interfering with what is a configured or an initiated Git folder because it's being managed by Git. So I'm going to go into a different folder that has a repository. Let me see if I can find one here. Go back up one. So here's one. This is one where I have a variety of different folders going on. And so let's pick one. And there is a Git repository. So this folder has a Git repository folder within it. That means that the Git repository starts at this level, and all of these subfolders are being managed by Git. So my caution, my warning, my advice, never mess around with this folder. Don't move the folder, don't change the folder, don't touch the folder, don't even explore the folder. I myself don't even go in there because Git at its core is a database that tracks the changes that we're making to our code. And if we interfere or if we clutter or if we disconnect the elements of that database, we're going to cause some serious issues that may be too complex to solve. Now, my advice is that as you start to propagate more Git repositories in your folder and work environment, that you pay careful attention if that folder that you're going to work on, if that project that you're going to work on already has a Git repository or a Git uh, basically folder in it. You'll often need to check if there is a hidden file or folder there, or sometimes products like GitHub or SourceTree will actually tell us if a folder has a Git repository enabled. So those are useful to be aware of, but it is not something that I recommend where you explore the contents of this folder and see if you can make sense of it. You can't. You're more likely than not going to cause trouble for yourself or maybe even for others and potentially put your work or your repository at risk. So the good news is, even if you were to make a mistake locally here in these folders, as long as you didn't push or make changes to the cloud stored version of your code in that repository. Remember, we have GitHub and Bitbucket that are in a cloud that keep our main repository. As long as you didn't tamper with that, you can always clone a fresh copy. So you really don't have a long-term issue to be concerned with if you make a mistake by messing around or poking around inside of this folder, because you can recover it. You can recover your work from your GitHub main main image via cloning of it. But again, if you inadvertently make changes and move files or folders, drag and drop files and folders, you could be causing a lot of issues. And Git may warn us and protect us from that. But if you mess around too much, that may not be the case. So that is tip number one, advice number one. It is the most important advice that I can share today. And there are other rules to be aware of, which I will mention as we go. But that folder will soon be on our laptop or on our desktop as we start to initiate a Git repository.